Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures. I'm Lilian Zeltzer, and for over 3 decades, I researched, practiced, and hunted for natural keys to better health, success, love, longevity, and pleasures. In the process, I discovered many effective time-tested and science-supported recipes which can also help you to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Because as Hippocrates said in the 4th century BC, if you are not your own doctor, you're a fool. Our guest expert today is Ray Thorp, the author of the best-selling book, Happy High Herbs, and the founder of the Happy Herbs Company, which he started 30 years ago, when most of the plant-based stimulants were ridiculed and tabooed. Welcome to the show, Ray.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I wonder what triggered your interest in the botanicals and your decision to share your findings with the world by making rare recipes accessible to the general public through your amazing stores.
Well, it was certainly trying 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐿. It wasn't available in Australia, and I'd read about it, and I was skeptical, but I thought, well, surely an author wouldn't write all these good things about this herb. So I imported it in from America. It's a Mexican herb, but it was available in America, which is a bit of a miracle because there's not many really natural herbs in America, as you would have discovered. And anyway, we tried it and could feel its effects immediately, its calming effects, and we really liked it as a cup of tea, and we read that it was an aphrodisiac, and my partner's libido was pretty low at the time, so she drank it every week, and I could see the startling effects because I woke up in the middle of the night twice in that week, and she was in her sleep enjoying an orgasm without even being consciously aware of it. I'm lying back there thinking, what's the use of me, really, But what was happening is that she'd taken Depo-Provera, a contraceptive, earlier in her life, and it had mucked up her hormones, and it balanced her hormones. And yes, we had a really enjoyable sex life with 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐿. But not only that, it calmed us. It's an antidepressant. And by smoking it, it even got me off cannabis that I was using at the time. So I was thinking, what a miracle herb. Why don't we know about this? Why don't we know about this? And then I tried some other herbs. I'm thinking, why don't we know this? That there are natural antidepressants and aphrodisiacs, but we're not allowed to make claims, The pharmaceutical companies don't want people to know about herbs because we would use them in the first instance and wouldn't resort to their man-made, manufactured, dangerous drugs that they produce. So, that's what propelled me. And I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'll open up a market stall. And that's what happened. And it worked. And then from then on, I went out to open up a shop. And our main seller was 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐿. That was the one that I wanted to get across. And in the end, we had 54 shops around the world selling this wonderful herb 𝐸𝐤𝐤𝐿.
That is amazing story. Amazing story. Absolutely. That changed your life. That encounter with something that worked triggered a change of the whole life. And it's probably changed a lot of lives around you because you made all those amazing rare herbs available to general public. I know that a lot of people consider you to be a herbal rebel or herb rebel. What kind of difficulties did you encounter opening those stores in different countries?
I certainly had a lot of difficulties, even here in Australia. I was up against the Therapeutic Goods Administration all of the time. I don't know how many times, more than 12 times, been in court probably 5 times, won all of my cases. But we couldn't open up in certain countries, and believe it or not in Europe. Wow. Most countries have laws against herbs where only pharmacists can sell herbs. And of course, they have no knowledge of herbs. herbalists study for 5 years or more to learn about herbs, but pharmacists don't have any. They're not interested in herbs because they don't make any money out of it. So basically, it's very hard for people to access herbs, and that was my mission, and that's why I tried to open up in as many countries as I could, like America, New Caledonia. But even in New Caledonia, we had problems because they work under French laws. So yeah, there's a conspiracy against herbs, and that's why I love the opportunity to speak now, because we've got to get this knowledge out there, as you are. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ray, many people who didn't try effective herbs before, they expect immediate effect, a sort of Viagra out of Damiana. Is it something they should expect, or it works differently? What is your experience?
It works much differently. However, if you're anxious or uptight or angry or in extreme emotion, you'll feel Damiana's calming effects immediately. You won't feel the Viagra effect that it has upon men and women. In a way, you've got to be taking that because it's your body adjusting its hormones and adjusting with the assistance of the herb. But as for emotions, yeah, immediately you will feel it, but not physically in a Viagra sense. No.
Right. My introduction to Damiana was accidental. On my way to Point Canaveral, where I was hunting for saw palmetto, I visited Corpus Christi, small town on the border with Mexico, where I learned from the local restaurateur about an amazing time-tested local marvel called Damiana that was growing on the sides of the road that led to Mexican border, I should say. So being who I am, I was very interested to see it in the wild and went hunting for it. And of course, I was stopped by border patrol that came in a car, 3 of them, armed, and basically took me for Mexican traveler or somebody who jumped the border without permission. So it was an adventure, but I collected a lot of Damiana and I tried it, and that restaurateur actually showed me a few ways of using Damiana in teas, in tinctures, in even in cooking, in smoking. But what is your favorite recipe?
Well, my favorite recipe is Damiana liqueur, which if you cross the border, you would see in all Mexican bottle shops. And it has a distinctive feminine shape. And Mexican women use it also to spice up their husbands and spice up their sex life because of it. Yeah. But it is popular. But you can make it yourself just by putting 25 grams of Damiana into a bottle of preferably tequila, but otherwise vodka, and let it sit there for 7 days, strain it, and it's as simple as that. Have it an hour before bed, and you'll really enjoy your bedtime, put it that way.
Yes,
both sexes.
In Mexico, they say it is a liqueur of fertility. That's why they lock it in a bottle that looks like goddess of fertility.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I recall that I had 2 customers come up and present to me their little baby, and they said, "You're the godfather to this baby." And what do you mean? What do you mean? And like a year before, they've been trying for children, but they bought Damiana off me because they were on, they were addicted to cannabis, but they read on the label that it can increase fertility, and it did. A baby arrived, and I'm a godfather.
Ah, bravo. Oh, well, that's a good story. The most important thing about Damiana that it works for both sexes. It enhances mood, it relaxes, and makes you feel happier and more susceptible to advances of your partners.
Yes. Yes.
Is there something that works specifically for women that can elevate physical and sensual pleasures for women? Is it something that you keep as a secret?
Well, certainly I try to get 𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐸 out there, and that's the premier one for women. But the one I really recommend, and every woman that I know is on it, and they feel it, and that's ashwagandha. It's the queen of herbs, not only for women's libido, but for their stamina, strength, calmness. It's great for the nervous system. It's also good for autoimmune disease. It really is a premier herb. And I remember at a festival, a woman coming up and saying, "What have you got for libido?" And I remember her. And I saw her a year later. She looked totally different. She said, "Ashwagandha changed my life." Because not only did it increase her libido, but increased her stamina. She looked really fit and strong and healthy. Ashwagandha is one of the best herbs for women, that's for sure.
Yeah, the way ashwagandha works is by supporting hormonal system, hormonal balance in woman's body. My first taste of the love gooseberries, those bright orange-red berries that when you bite into, burst with array of tiny little pips. And it's a sort of sweet, sour, sweet taste, unusual taste. I tasted them in Florence, out of all places in the world, where I was sitting with my husband at a table on Piazza Signora, or Signori, should say. And the cocktail that I had was dressed with this berry. So when I asked the waiter what it was, he said, "Oh, it's a love berry. Well, you should only take it if, you know, eat it if you are with your husband." Oh, well, luckily I was.
Yeah.
So anyway, then later in my life, when I was on expedition to Tibet, to Nepal, searching for ashwagandha in the wild, I came across the same berry. So it is definitely ashwagandha, which in Nepal they grow as crops for export. Of course, locals use it for as a supplement to their, as a staple, basically. Instead of raisins or sultanas, what we normally use in baking and cooking and just snacking on them. But what is your favorite recipe, or should I say your loved, or your woman's favorite recipe, right?
Well, my partner takes it in spagyric form, which is an extract, and it's easy to take, but it's also delicious to have on top of dessert or in a smoothie. I have no particular recipe for it because it is so amenable to drink on its own or in a smoothie or on cereal, really. But in an extract form, it's very, very easy. You just have a few drops each morning. Very easy. You don't have to do any preparation.
All right. Well, I'm more of a natural nerd. I take ashwagandha as berries. I use them instead of sultanas. I just like snacking in them when I walk at the beach, or just when I feel a little bit nibbly. Well, the ethical question now. Since ashwagandha works on balancing hormonal system, can you, with your sharp eye, Ray, say or tell a woman that is on ashwagandha?
I could, in the sense of their vitality, yes. Or put it this way, most women I look at need ashwagandha. They don't look vital and alive and orgasmic. And yeah, I really do believe that I can tell the difference or get a vision that they're not on ashwagandha.
Oh, you're a dangerous person, Ray. Well, and now I would like to talk about something different, and that is for men. In over 3 decades, my husband and I hunted down many fast-acting legal herbs known to increase physical arousal, performance, and sensitivity for men. Well, I look after my husband, of course. For example, 𝐻𝐥𝐤𝐿, ginkgo biloba, cayenne, ginger, and a lot of more, well, things. Those that help to increase blood flow to the genitals, which trigger higher performance and sensitivity. However, there's one particular root of a slim tree that grows in Indonesia that conquered my husband's imagination. What do you think it was?
I think I could guess and say it was 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤, a Malaysian herb that comes from a tree, and 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤 means old man's walking stick. And older men have these sticks and they take a chip off it and chew on it. And it's very much a Viagra effect. Not quite immediately, ideally, to take it every day over 3 days, preparing for the wild weekend. You mentioned 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐤. Yes, that is far more potent, but it can be dangerous. And it also is illegal in Australia, of course. But 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤 isn't. It's very bitter. I suggest somebody takes it by extract, but everybody I've tested it with, every man, has noticed its effects, because not only is it good with the Viagra effect, but it also gives you stamina and keeps you fit as well. It's a testosterone booster and very good for people working out as well.
Yes, I believe that it is quite potent, but it does have that kind of collective effect. You do need to take 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤 for a period of time to get the real effect. What if a woman would try 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤? What can happen? Would we grow certain things, or we would just feel more masculine?
That's what would happen. A partner of mine was using herbalist, which is also good for libido and for men, and she started to get aggressive and start to build muscle. 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤 wouldn't be recommended for a woman, maybe in a little at a time, but it's not meant for women. It's meant for men, I believe.
What is your favorite recipe with 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤?
Well, because it's so bitter, I've tried it every which way, and it is just so bitter. You have to put so much honey with it, or sugar, or whatever, that I prefer just to have it in extract, so I can get it down in a few drops instead of trying to make a cup of tea. So I don't have a favorite recipe except to use it as an extract.
Well, it is truly man's herb, because ashwagandha is nice and sweet comparing to men's 𝐭𝐡𝐢𝐤𝐤. Well, I'm glad that I don't have to take that one. Ray, if you had to start your life all over again, would you choose again a life over herb rebel, over corporate career?
Absolutely, because I was in the corporate world, but if I had my life over again, I would have gone through school, studied herbalism, and then gone straight into it, and then acquired quite a bit of capital to really promote herbs and fight the Therapeutic Goods Administration, promote the fact that the herbalists should be able to be allowed to prescribe herbs instead of doctors and pharmacists who have no knowledge of herbs at all. That would be my mission. I've achieved it in a little way, but towards the end of my life. So yeah, please help me wind back my life and start over again.
Oh, I'm looking for that herb. I might come up with something, Ray. What do you know? But in the meantime, I just wanted to mention that I love your book. It's Happy High Herbs. I have 6th edition. I believe that you have 10th edition on the way. This book has no frills. It is down to, it's without any science, just you call spade a spade, facts, effects, and recipes, and I love it. It contains over 70 different herbs, and I highly recommend to anyone who wants to get their hands on a herbal or art of herbs or art of natural pharmacy. Is there anything you would like to add or suggest, Ray?
Well, I just know, and I know by looking at you, and I won't reveal it, but I know your age, and I certainly know mine. I'm 75, and I see myself on the dance floor, and younger men don't have the vitality I have, and I know it's all through herbs. I don't take any pharmaceuticals, no drugs. It's all herbal, and I think you and I are shining examples of the use of herbs in your daily life, which I have. In fact, I've got a cup of herbal tea waiting for me now.
Oh, so do I. Look at that. Well, nature makes us resort to its secrets. When time comes, everyone ages, and unless you take care of yourself, well, nature will do its trick and you just disappear, or will become old, ugly, lonely, and won't enjoy life. So it is in your hands. And going back to Hippocrates, who said, if you're not your own doctor, you're a fool. Drink your herbal tea. Yes. On behalf of our viewers and myself, Ray, I would like to thank you for your time and for sharing your wonderful knowledge with us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Today's recipe I learned from the restaurateur of a small seafood joint located on the outskirts of Corpus Christi in Texas. When the restaurateur heard about my passion for ethnobotanicals, he told me about the local magic herb called the miana, which grew wild on the sides of the roads nearby. Apparently, the ancient Aztecs highly regarded this plant as medicine and used it in their spiritual and voodoo rituals. He also said that one should be very careful with it, as it is indeed a very powerful aphrodisiac that can provoke irrational decisions, as it happened with the heir to the British crown, King Edward VIII, who in 1936, just 6 months before his coronation, gave up his royal crown for love to the twice divorced older American woman, Wallis Simpson, who used the miana in her cocktails and smoking blends, where tobacco was mixed with orange blossom and other aromatic grass. But it was her D cookies, stands for the miana cookies, of course, that allegedly helped her to win Edward's love. Of course, I didn't quite believe this story until I baked those cookies and shared them with my husband. When 2 hours after we ate them, both my husband and I unexpectedly experienced a powerful surge of happiness and sensual bliss. The downloadable copy of this recipe is located under this video. It is quite simple recipe, but it is powerful and worth making. Enjoy the delightful experience, and please let me know if it worked for you, or perhaps if you would like to share with me your Damiana recipe. For now, good health, long life, and pleasures. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. if you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.